So glad you guys could join us. Hopefully, this virtual conference will whet your appetite to join in the First2 Network if you are new to us. And of course, if you're part of our family already, we're just really glad to have this opportunity to talk, converse, and network and learn from each other as well. So welcome, everyone. I feel like the romper room lady. I see Erica Close down in the bottom of my first screen. Hi, Erica. Okay. Well, everyone, my name is Sue Ann Heatherly, and I work at the Green Bank Observatory. I am a high school science teacher by training. So I started out on my STEM journey as a high school science teacher, teaching in a very, very rural K-12 school here in West Virginia. But I've worked with the Green Bank Observatory in Pocahontas County, West Virginia now for over 30 years. And I am here to welcome you to our convening and to remind you about our mission and what we're up to as the First2 Network, and to set the stage for the wonderful sessions you're going to be a part of today and tomorrow as well. So I'm going to share my screen and just go through a couple of slides with you, because why not? And talk about the theme of our conference. So let me get that started. Here we go. And I'm gonna bring it up top. Spoiler alert there, if you saw some of those. All right, so the convening that we are hosting today and tomorrow afternoon has a theme, and that theme is called Improving STEM Persistence in West Virginia, Reshaping the Narrative. To start us off, I just kind of want to remind you about what the First2 Network's about, what our mission is. And it's sort of a circular mission, if you will, that builds on itself. We want to ultimately double the number of STEM graduates in our state from 30% to 60%. And this to happen within 10 years of our founding, which is now 3 full years ago, as an NSF-funded Includes Alliance. We have a focus on rural and first-generation students and other students who are underrepresented in STEM in our state, attending our higher education institutions. Our second prong of our mission is to really build a collaborative culture. I'm so glad to see all of you here today, because it's all of us working together, collaborating together, thinking through all of the problems and the solutions together that we hope will live long after this first round of NSF funding ends. We'd like to see this network stay alive and contribute to STEM persistence in our state. And then the third prong is to really understand, to dig deep and understand the factors affecting rural, first generation, and other underrepresented STEM students in their persistence in our state. We're interested in understanding what goes on within the context of West Virginia, within the context of Appalachia, within the context of a rural focus, which we are kind of unique in as compared to some of the other STEM persistence foci out there. So the First2 Network engages in a lot of work, and primarily we are engaged in trying to bring together folks from all different sectors, whether you're a higher education faculty or a K-12 teacher or an industry representative or a policymaker, to bring folks together that have perspectives on STEM education, on rural first generation and underrepresented STEM students, to bring us together to learn how to be more effective in engaging and retaining our students in our state. We work with institutions of higher education and industry leaders across our state. And one of the things that we do that you're going to hear more about later today are opportunities that we create and try to improve for students to engage in the STEM research community early on in their undergraduate careers. So you'll hear more about some of the work going on there later today. And we work with college faculty and other folks at institutions, at higher education institutions, to try to take a look at our higher education systems and figure out ways to make them work better for our first generation and other underrepresented students. So this is the kind of work that we're engaged in and have been engaged in over the last 3 years. And all of that is couched within sort of the context of wanting to build a better West Virginia with a vibrant STEM-based, innovative-based economy. So step one in our work is that we recognize that students need to not only be at the table to discuss the issues they're facing because they understand these issues better than the rest of us who are engaged in STEM persistence work, but to be solvers of the problems that they bring to light for us. And so our mantra as First2 Network is not to, not for, but with. And student voice is a core value, and just First2 Network wouldn't exist without our student voice, not only as voicing those concerns, but being part of the solutions as well. You're going to hear student voice early on in our convening this afternoon because students speak first generally, even though I'm sort of speaking first now. But when we get into the meat of this thing, our student voice is coming up next. So students have told us that they can illuminate the failure points within the systems of higher education or other systems as well. We really need to elevate student voice at all parts of the K-12 and beyond STEM journey that students are on. We know from reports of our first two students that they're more willing to hang in there and persist within the systems that exist right now when they're in leadership roles, when they are leading, assisting, mentoring others. And they also report a greater willingness to ask for help if they can ask for help from peers or near peers. And so the First2 Network invests a lot financially and otherwise in peer leadership opportunities for our students. One way that First2 Network attempts to change the narrative is by working across silos. You hear this word silos a lot. I used it here for lack of a better word, but to work outside of the scope of our daily work. As a faculty member, your daily work is to contribute to research and mentor the students that come through your classes. But if we can work together across institutions, we can learn a lot more from each other. These 6 boxes that you see on the right are areas of work for the First2 Network. And up at the top are 2 important ones, student leadership, you're going to hear from students shortly, and campus engagement, which is a refocus for us as the First2 Network. So students experience their STEM journey on a campus, whether that's WVU or Fairmont State or a community and technical college. They will experience their first 2 years as a STEM student, as a STEM person on that campus. And so bringing together folks from different walks of support within a campus to talk about STEM persistence together, to dig deep and see how they can support each other is a focus for us this year, and we're here to help. You're going to hear more about some immersive experiences that we have engaged in with students later on today, and college readiness, working with students where they are when they get to us is an important aspect of the First2 Network. We also need to hear from the other end. What happens when a student does graduate with a STEM degree? What is industry looking for, and how can we support that? And we have a group of student alumni that reach back down and share their stories with our first two students also. So one of the factors that we've learned here in West Virginia, this is West Virginia data, it's from West Virginia University and our research team for the First2 Network, is that the math entry point for students is a real critical predictor for college success. If you're a physical science major or an engineering major in one of these STEM disciplines. We know that 70% of students who enter college ready for Calculus 1 will graduate with a STEM degree versus 30% who enter at the algebra level. And so today you're going to hear from some folks that are engaged in innovations with regard to math education to try to address this big problem that's been unearthed by our research team. We also have a qualitative research group that's really trying to understand what West Virginia is. We are an entirely Appalachian state. We have sort of a rural culture, even if you're from outside of Charleston, West Virginia, or Morgantown, West Virginia. The entire state's relatively rural, even though federal designations might not agree. And so our qualitative researchers are looking at the nuances within our state and access to cultural opportunities and how that might affect access to critical courses that students need in order to be ready to be a STEM major in college. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to learn more about our work to engage students early on in their campus STEM communities from a couple of folks that led such things this past summer. So I'm excited for you to hear about that. And then we would be nowhere without our partnerships. So if we're going to change the narrative, we really have to hear different voices from different stakeholders. And you're looking here at the most up-to-date list, I hope it's up-to-date, list of our formal partners with the First2 Network. So you'll see industry partners there, you'll see higher education partners, and so forth. I want to really shout out today a couple of exciting things I need to tell you about, some news I need to tell you about. And number one is that we welcome Blue Ridge Community and Technical College to the First2 Network today. So everybody give me some happy hands there for Blue Ridge. This is our first partnership with a community college. And we know that more and more students are experiencing their first 2 critical years as a STEM person at community and technical college. So we are so excited to learn more and work with our first community college to figure out how it all fits together. I also want to make a shout out to High Rocks Educational Corporation, who has led, they are a key PI, they're a principal investigator within the First2 Network, and they are a community building organization who recognize, listening to our industry advisors, that 2 things were missing that maybe they could help make change on. One of those things was building those so-called soft skills, which we call power skills, that industry is looking for. They're looking for people with critical thinking who can work in teams, who can communicate with each other, who can manage projects. And so additionally, we've learned that there is a pretty big disconnect between the industries that we have here in West Virginia that are STEM industries and connecting with potential employees, which we want to be our students here in the state. And so High Rocks led, along with many partners, including the First2 Network, a proposal to the Appalachian Regional Commission and won it to build a West Virginia Jobs Network and to also build a Power Skills certification program. So I wanted to shout out to High Rocks, and you can ask Sarah Riley more about that if you're curious about that. It's just getting off the ground, and congratulations to you. So there's a real power in building a network, particularly in West Virginia, where we really didn't have such a thing as the First2 Network before. And one point I'll just make here is that our qualitative researchers are noting a correlation between students who are engaged in the First2 Network in some way, whether that's through doing research as part of a STEM research community or building a better network for us in some way, that they are more likely to persist. And so there is a correlation between network engagement here in the First2 Network and STEM persistence that we're eager to further learn about as the years go on. So I'll end with, we are here to help as you begin to think about changing the system where you are, as you begin to think about ways in which you can engage with the First2 Network or engage with STEM persistence in some way. First2 Network is here to help. And I just wanted to leave you with that.